Adventure racing is not a place for the faint-hearted. It attracts a special breed of person, someone not afraid to take on the impossible, with a high pain threshold and a certain degree of madness. Over 90 teams from 29 countries have amassed in Spain, ready to take on one of the toughest races on the planet. The Adventure Racing World Championships, Spain. With just over 90 minutes to study their maps, the teams will ride, trek, paddle and navigate over 600 kilometers through unforgiving terrain, surviving on little or no sleep. It's the ultimate test of character as teams are pushed to breaking points, as they take on the elements and each other in a classic race for survival, where it's not just about winning or losing, it's all about survival of the fittest.
Just before the race starts, it's so many things going on in your mind. Is all the equipment on the right place? Have you trained enough? It is a lot of stress, but still this is what you have trained for so many years. So you really just want to hit the start line and go out on the trails.
Before the race, it's always a mix of feelings. You're afraid in one way, but you have to push that fear away. And you're afraid of pain. You know it's going to hurt, especially if you want to be in the top 5 positions.
It's going to be tough, and I think it's going to be survival of the fittest. Just be smart, be sensible, go at our own rhythm, and just stick it out, and what will be, will be.
Before the start of such a big race, it's always a mix of stress, excitement and fear.
We've been given the maps about 1 hour ago. You can see here all the team is marking up the maps. Not much time to work out our route, and just looking at these maps, they're very, very detailed. There's a lot of information to get across. This is probably the worst bit of the race, the hour before. We just want to get going. 1 hour into the race, you relax, but the start is always frantic.
Yeah, there's so many things that are going through your mind before the race. When you can compromise them and make it easier for yourself and for your team is key to success.
Every race we go to around the world, there is different terrain, and that's what we love about adventure racing. No race is the same. We're racing in deserts, in mountains, in jungle, on the ocean. It's great. But looking at the maps, who knows? Yeah, it looks very difficult, and there's very many steep-sided valleys, so it's going to be challenging.
Just before this race, my mental feeling was quite strange, because after the last year and a half of COVID, we have very stressful moment, and the feeling I had was, I don't know if I'm able to do this.
There was a big rush of making everything marked, and as we have 3 navigators, it's a little bit easier for us, and we could share the maps, and we got everything done.
Located in the northwest of Spain, the Adventure Racing World Championships start in the picturesque town of Monforte de Lemos. The first section is a 122-kilometer trek across the mountains to Manzaneda, followed by an 80-kilometer bike ride to Cañoles del Sil. Next is the 90-kilometer paddle to Laíes. Section 4 is a grueling 210-kilometer bike. Section 5 is a 65-kilometer trek, before another short paddle. And finally, if they're still standing, a 32-kilometer trek to the finish at A Coruna.
Everyone was getting to the start line, and we were still doing something around the maps, and yeah, we were like somewhere in the very back, and then the gun went, and we were like, oh, it's now?
When someone triggers the gun and you go, you're so in the moment, so time just flies. A really difficult thing to explain to someone who never tried it.
Everybody started running down the roads, and it was not very difficult navigation in the beginning, just follow the others.
The starting level was very high, but I hate the road. I hate it. And all the beginning was road. We did maybe the first 35 Ks running on road. So I was telling my mind, don't worry, it's gonna be better. Don't worry, it's coming better. So I suffer, the beginning I suffer a lot.
The race always starts too fast. And this was a road running race, and you run with a big backpack, so it's not very comfortable. And I have so much experience already that I know that losing 1 minute or some seconds, it doesn't really count in the end.
After a frenetic start, the teams soon settle into a rhythm as they prepare for the long road ahead.
The first section was a special one. I don't think the World Championship or the Adventure Racing World Series have never seen a 120k long trekking section as the first leg with 5,600 vertical meters, and that scared a lot of teams.
The beginning of the race is a little bit easier to be focused because mentally you are very strong, you are not tired enough for that.
No problem.
For the moment.
For first section, it seemed it will be easy from the beginning because it was quite flat and easy to run. So we were thinking, yeah, if it goes like this, we will be much faster in the finish of this stage. But it wasn't like this, obviously.
Mentally, I suffer a lot. It's true the first stage was very long for everyone, so we try not to push too much, just to be physically able to keep doing for the next stages. Yeah?
For me, I think always the first 12 hours is toughest because even if I train a lot, it's a difference between guys and girls. They really need to push it the first hours and then I have to suffer.
While the stronger teams move to the front, the others just try to consolidate their positions.
This is a very long time to be on feet, and everybody is going to feel some kind of pain. And then it was cold, a little bit painful, but you just have to push through. Like, keep moving, every step is closer to the end of the stage.
The first trekking was really long, and for us living in Sweden, we don't have these high mountains. It hurts in your leg when you don't have the long downhill runs that's necessary for a race like this. So we were quite nervous.
We started to get into more smaller trails and mountains, and then the night fell. I always say that the real adventure race starts when the night falls.
When the first night comes, the speed always goes down, and that's the race pace.
Now, for me, I can say the first night in the race is the best. It's the moment I switch it off. I'm in the race, I know how I am, and I'm ready to push, so it's my moment.
Then we got to the big hills and probably some nice mountains, but it was already dark, so we couldn't see much.
As anticipated, a storm breaks during the night, which makes for an uncomfortable night of racing.
There was a big storm going to hit from the Atlantic, but somehow during the day it was not raining. At maybe 1 o'clock in the night, when we were already going down from the mountain, then it started to rain. You have to be very careful. When a road ends, it can mean a cliff. And markings in the map, it also said some dangers. And then this a little bit scared us, and we chose a safer option around.
During the first night, fatigue begins to set in. One of the biggest challenges is knowing how hard to push and pacing yourself over such a long distance.
This stage was very fast. Comparing the rest of the adventure racing stages, this was fast and long. So that means physically that's very difficult.
The first day is tough because the speed is a bit high. You are going to race for 4 days, but still the speed is high.
Exhausting for the mind also, because when you 26 hours on one section, it's difficult for mind also.
If you go too slow, you can lose the chance. So what's that fight? We've been always trying to be not far away from the front, but trying to catch them, but not going too strong for us. It was difficult, very difficult to manage that.
It's brutal to start with 21 hours of running. It's really brutal. And it started not so good for us because one of the members, he didn't feel well from hour 2 and till the finish line. But still, you have to handle it.
For us, the first section was tough because Rickard, one of our teammates, got really sick. He was ill and he was puking for almost 10 hours. We had to slow down the pace. We had to get him recovered so we could start moving and getting back into the race. And it was the worst thing to me to see one of my teammates suffer. After 10 hours, Rickard finally started to recover. He was eating, he was feeling better. Then we could actually start pushing again and hunt down the teams that was in front of us.
The early pace begins to take its toll, with the number of teams struggling. The strong Estonian ace team are surprised to find themselves out in front.
Somehow we found there was less and less teams with the group, and in the end, at some point, we were already leaders. Stronger teams tend to move away from the rest of the field.
21 hours into the race, and the first teams, headed by Estonian ace, arrive in transition, tired and hungry. With just 21 minutes separating the top four, the race is still wide open.
Finally, we are walking into the first transition as leaders and have all the sharing people there. This really lifts you up because you've been alone and miserable in the mountains with the raining just 5 minutes ago with nobody in sight. We were very satisfied with our position there.
Feeling is not so bad. We were not going very hard in the end, so stay comfortable. There's some problems here, but this will dry out, hopefully.
Not so windy as it was during the day, but it was really very, very rainy and wet. Well, we had enough of the running. It was a really long stage, so now we're looking forward for the biking section.
Yeah, it was hard, for sure.
It was the night.
Very wet, lots of rain. It was tough.
Everybody is pushing a little bit, but also saving energy for the race. It's a long race still ahead.
Before entering in that transition, we talk about what to do, how to do. If it's going to be a super fast transition, we will have something to eat or not. So we need to repeat a couple of times just to check and be sure everyone is ready and everyone will do the same. Yeah?
John didn't feel that well. It's nice to have survived the first leg, and I can see the relief in his eyes, and now it's mountain bike. And I know the guys are strong in mountain bike, so he has a chance to recover.
In the transition, yeah, we were happy to be there because the first day finish, and I think we're quite good bikers, so we look forward for the bike. It stopped raining for the moment, so we could even see the nice hills in there. It was a very nice place.
Soon after leaving transition, the teams complete a zipline task and an abseil, which makes for a welcome change of scenery.
We left the TA, we had some tasks there. One part of the team had to do a downhill. Me and Reda, we did the zipline.
And that's really fun to do something different.
It's really, really great. I like it.
Yes.
Nice.
A little bit cold. Cold. For Spanish people, I think this is very cold. After the zipline bike section, we get the nice chairlift ride up. We use this time to eat the tactical food pack that we use. Just when we were up, we grabbed the bikes and said, let's go.
The Russian team, Blizzard, continue to push the pace and are the first to start the 80-kilometer bike leg, with Estonian Ace and Swedish Armed Forces close behind. With the temperature dropping close to zero, the cold begins to bite. Despite the unsettled weather, it takes nothing away from the spectacular scenery.
This section was really beautiful. You ride your mountain bike up on the ridges. It was snowing on the top, but still we are Swedes, so we like the cold weather and we were prepared for the cold weather.
I was going over some cool ridges and we were actually biking in snow.
I think that this was the one with the most spectacular views and smooth riding. Yes, it was a bit uphill, but it wasn't hard. It was really nice.
The biking leg has been very nice. The beginning downhill from after like 15-20 kilometers, it was absolutely fantastic place. Then it was just keep moving, get some warmth in. Everybody had gloves on and fingers a little bit getting stiffer all the time.
I had some problems in the beginning of that section. Sonny, he was pulling me a little bit to get me recovered. Really cold for our team. Nothing is consistent. And that's what you have to remember in a situation like that. When you're cold, that's the mental test that you're facing when you're racing these races. Because you have to move perspectives all the time.
Just the road, you can see winds over this mountain, over this beautiful terrain. And we had a Russian team there just in front of us going down. Then we just let the gravity do the work.
As part of their mandatory rules, the teams are required to locate a designated urban checkpoint to take a photo.
Yeah, amazing.
You're going fast.
This bike was really nice. I think we are doing good today. Yeah. Oh, on the bike session, yes?
Yeah.
So hopefully we will see when we come to the finish.
Ja.
Bra Malin.
Always we have a strategy, yeah? So for this race was to enjoy a lot. Let's keep the timing we need in each stage to try to win. That was more or less a strategy, yeah?
I don't think we really have strategy, but easy start and then keep the pace and push a little hard if we know we are strong enough in the end, but it doesn't always work.
After 29 hours of exhausting racing, Estonia Ace finished the 80-kilometer bike ride just ahead of Swedish armed forces.
It was very beautiful and still a little cold. We did okay, we didn't have any problems. Getting ready for the kayak section has been a weak point of our team because there is a lot of things to do and we tend to waste time in transition.
Lots of different weather on one short stage, and in the end we had some really difficult to find the right path, so it's a hard section in the end, especially at night, so we're really glad we managed to finish in daytime. The hard night, try to stay awake as long as possible. Just pedal, pedal, pedal.
Interesting section, especially last descent to a town. Very steep roads.
We are planning to stay on the stage and sleep. So some nice comfy sleep on the course.
Obviously in the kayaking was the second longest stage and thinking we will be tired there because most of the stage was in the dark at night.
The leading teams have now gone over 30 hours without sleep. How each team manages their sleep is an intriguing battle, and it can often be the difference between winning and losing. Ignoring sleep, the Estonians decide to push on in an effort to consolidate their lead.
Very long kayak, 90 kilometers, that's massive stage. We suggest it will take around 18 hours.
And on a river you have never been on. And that has rapids. I like it personally. This makes it a real adventure. You just have to be careful and at the same time go fast.
The beginning was with a lot of fog. It was quite difficult to navigate.
It started on the river, but no flow at all, so just pedal in the dark.
We couldn't see anything. And we had a couple of rapids, and you never know if the rapid was coming to you, you were down, you were turning, or was because with the fog, you see just a white wall.
You have been racing like 1.5 days already and feet are not so good. This was difficult to get past these rapids walking on the slippery stones.
After almost 45 hours of non-stop racing, the leading teams are pushed to breaking point, with sleep now becoming vital.
As we had not slept in the first night, the big question was to sleep or not to sleep. Our experience is that we are able to go through 2 nights without sleeping.
Everyone handled sleep deprivation in different ways. It's a skill to keep pushing when you're super tired.
We got an hour of sleep before the stage because we knew once we sit in the kayak we will fall asleep immediately. So we just took 1 hour of sleep, which helped quite a lot.
We got out of the boats for a moment, and at that moment we understood that it's really cold. I think it was below 5 centigrade.
So we had to think how to paddle fastest now when one team member is actually down. The first kayak dragged the second kayak, and still we managed to keep a good pace.
In a critical move, the Swedes decide to take a rest during the kayak paddle.
Swedish Armed Forces team come into there. We saw that they carried their boats a little bit out of the river, and so we thought that maybe they're going to sleep.
We planned to sleep on this section just because it was so long. It makes it easier for the mind to break it into 2 legs.
So our strategy was to keep awake, just go through, and in the transition, when we can eat, get warm, and it will be good quality sleep.
During the kayak paddle, the teams are required to exit the water and haul their kayaks 12 kilometers to bypass a dam.
Then there was long portage on the road, which is unusual, but it actually went fine even on those little wheels.
It was good, but always hard to compete during the second night. It was cold a little bit, but beautiful.
It was very hard because it was a thick fog, so we couldn't use our headlamps. So we had to close the headlamps and wish for the best.
We had a quick sleep at the transition, and then we headed out on the kayak, and so far so good. And luckily I had some strong team members that could pull our kayaks as well. And now, yeah, we're running with them, which is pretty interesting.
Just when Team Blizzard were closing in on first position, disaster strikes when a missed checkpoint sends them retreating 6 kilometers back through the field, and it's a huge setback to their title aspirations.
We just saw 2 kayaks there, the pros from a team that forgot about maybe punch a checkpoint. So they might be running back to get that checkpoint. And yeah, I think there's only 2 teams ahead of us. Now teams are getting tired, the mistakes will pop. So now we gotta just keep our heads straight and focus to get to the finish line fast.
Really close. Oh, I know. We're still in the game. Oh, team number 4. I know this team.
After an exhausting portage section, the teams return to the water to complete the second phase of the 90-kilometer paddle.
Now again, head on the river. Yeah, I think it will be fun. I put my helmet very well, and we want to enjoy this river. This kayak is turned on, and we help our friends to back up. Sanya.
After the portage and everything, we arrived to the main river, and was very easy, just in line, not thinking you could sleep or whatever, and just keep paddling and paddling.
A little waves on the second river, but not much also, and then we were just asking for the end of the stage behind every turn. Yeah, it was very long.
Following a fast paddle and still with no sleep, Estonia Ace extend their lead.
We've arrived in the transition again. It was already light out and a very nice place, and still the leaders.
Sometimes you are expecting it's going to be super tough, super long. When I arrived to the end, I say, oh, it wasn't so bad.
After 44 hours of racing and running on empty, the Estonians make a calculated decision to rest in Transition 3.
So in transition, our plan was to sleep for 2 hours. But the sleep was not good quality that we had expected because there was a little bit noise. We slept, but not 100%.
That's very good quality sleep. When you are in transition, it's much better than when you are just somewhere outside. You get some rest, but you wake up and you're cold, so it's much better to get it in transition if you're there in right time.
With the Estonians fast asleep, Swedish armed forces pass them to take the lead.
It was 210 kilometers and a lot of elevation and scary numbers. I was surprised that I was feeling very good.
The section of long mountain bike is quite nice, very long. We enjoy a lot.
In mountain biking, you have a bit of opportunities. In the downhill, you get to recover a bit more, and then you are able to take in what you are actually is biking through.
Desperate to make up for lost time, the Estonians quickly catch the Swedes, and for a while, the two teams share one another's company at the front of the race.
The Swedes have left, but we got them quite soon. And then we continued together, keeping each other good company. And as we have raced before, we know each other, we have a great respect to each other.
You know, it's not always about winning. It's more about the journey. And actually, there's a lot of teams that comes to these races just to explore a new country, a new region, or maybe themselves.
Up in the mountains and even down in the forest, it's amazing terrain, and that's also what adventure racing is about.
Many roads, many crossings, yeah, long stage.
Now almost 60 hours into the marathon battle, and the teams prepare to race into a third night.
Ah, sensational, sensational. Live adventure. I'm right now onto the bikes.
How's the feeling for the night?
Good, good. We go well at night.
After sharing the lead for an extended period, the Estonians are surprised to find themselves all alone and out in front.
And we saw that the Swedish armed forces, they were having some issues. Suddenly we look back and we don't see the lights anymore. And the mountain is still a little bit to go. And then we say it's still a race. And then another big mistake happened. We went down a road super fast. After a couple of kilometers, we realized that we have gone down the wrong road. But in an adventure race, you have to let go of this thing. You have to understand these things happen, and to blame it doesn't help anybody.
Teamwork is everything. You have to really trust each other in the team. All the members has to do the best, and not the best for you, it's the best for the team.
You will face problems during a course like this, but then you just have to remember that you have some unwritten rules, like you're not yourself when you're running a race like this.
And then we come into the city of Lugo for the small orienteering, and we find out that we are still the leaders. Where are the Swedish guys? I thought they passed us.
What they don't realize is that the Swedes have stopped for a 2-hour sleep in an effort to conserve energy.
It was, I think it's today's weather on the mountains. It's demanding for all the teams.
The race continues to take its toll, and now it's the Estonians forced to nurse a sick team member.
Just before we got to the city, was that Reda, our girl, she got sick. When you have digestive issues, you have to simplify the food. Maybe eat some rice or bread.
Just as the Estonians complete their orienteering challenge in the picturesque city of Lugo, Swedish armed forces enter transition just an hour behind, and the race is on.
We stopped for 2 hours in a town, I don't know the name, and slept. It was good. We have real sleeping bags with us, so it wasn't cold at all. No. It's fine. When it's such a long section, it's quite nice to have a rest in the middle of it. Then you get new energy.
Sleep is like a strategic tool, with teams prepared to risk mistakes or even getting sick in order to seek an advantage. Despite the extreme nature of the challenge, the magnificent Spanish scenery makes for a welcome backdrop.
The good thing is we had a rock garden in the middle of the stage. It's quite good to run a little bit. Everyone was feeling very strong on that stage.
It's really nice just to see these old buildings, cheering at people, all friendly.
The end of the biking stage was still 80 kilometers to go. When it already got light, we were riding through some beautiful villages in a rural area with some villages that had ruins in them. Some villages were beautiful agricultural villages.
Every country that I visit have something special to show. It's stunning, it's so amazing, and all the views up here. I've never been to this area before in Spain. When you're up on the tops and you see the scenery, you see the mountains, you see down to the forest.
We always like racing in Spain. Nice mountains, everything green. Yeah, very beautiful.
But we knew that the pressure is on, as now we have a sick team member. We have to support her more. When we are moving a little bit slower, we have to be extra careful with navigations.
We have a good sleep strategy where we try to sleep like 1.5 hours each night. Now we ended up sleeping way more. And I think that was good since we had problems in the beginning of the race.
In our strategy was try not to sleep a lot, just to try to catch the front peloton. And that means we will be more tired at the end at night. And at night, with the mountain bike, I think we were a little bit slow maybe. You never know the reality of how you're going. Maybe sometimes you think you're going super strong and it's not. And other times you think you're going slow and it's not bad.
Operating on just 2 hours of sleep, the Estonians arrive in Transition 4, still in the lead, but running on empty.
We knew we had 1 hour on the Swedish Armed Forces as we left before they were in.
The Swedes are definitely not giving up. They have had this dream for 10 years and they're not going to let the Estonians take it. Because we have already burned down their capital in Sigtuna. It was almost 1,000 years ago. So we'll see if we can burn down the Swedish Armed Forces this time also. We're friends actually, but still it's a race.
Estonia depart T5, ready for a 65-kilometer trek, which is expected to take around 14 hours, with the Swedes closing in. Air Adventure Racing is the next to arrive in T4, with Torpedo Videraid, the local Spanish team, excelling on the bike section and moving into 4th position.
Now the race starts. It's like a new start. And the two teams in front of us too, you know, so easy to be a little stressed, do some mistakes now. And then, yeah, boom, you can finish 10th place or you win.
It's gonna be a fun night, yeah?
We still have a lot of race to go, so it's hard to say anything until we get to the finish. There's more teams coming. We don't know what's going on with the teams ahead of us.
An adventure race is always full of surprises, and early in the 65-kilometer trek, the teams have to complete a paddleboard checkpoint on Aspontias Lake.
20 hours of race left, so it doesn't matter much. Of course, it's nice to be on first position and control a bit the race. Then we can sleep maybe longer or decide when to sleep.
We have seen them on the SUP and we know that we were a bit slower. We count out, okay, they might be 1 hour, but still we have slept more than these guys.
Been a super hard race. Lots of altitude meter. I think I never climbed this much in my whole life before, so it's really tough. It feels like you're close to the finish line, but more than 24 hours left of racing to go, so.
It's a long trekking section, especially when you're starting to getting tired, haven't slept that much, so it's so easy to do a mistake, so just keep it as safe and yeah, navigation is the key.
Despite a faultless race to date, Swedish armed forces are forced to repeat the paddleboard after forgetting to take their route book. In context of the race, it's a huge moment. And with the world title on the line, tempers are at breaking point.
You should go to the yellow and back again. And he told us, yeah, you need to confirm this now.
Okay. Let's look in the road
and
book.
In the road book it says that you should punch. And we asked him, should we punch or not?
Okay.
And now I punch in this one.
Okay.
So there is the punch. But you cannot have functionaries who tell us totally wrong. Men han sa ju den gud, ja men om vi blir diskade då. But sir, you need to come.
I think
that will be okay.
I think you should. It is so quick. You know, the rule is if you do not prove you have been to the checkpoint by the correct way, you have not proved by the correct agreement.
No. Is the rule mandatory equipment or not?
Yes, take your mandatory equipment.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Tom, mandatory equipment.
It's a costly mistake, putting them further behind the Estonians, with the team desperate to make up for lost time.
John is still not good, so we made a decision. It's now we have to push it. If it goes well, it goes well, otherwise it don't.
See.
In a real turning point in the race, exhaustion finally catches up with the Estonians, and they're forced to rest, leaving the door wide open for the Swedes, who seize the moment to pass them by.
Heading into the mountain to the final long trek, we knew that we had some time to sleep.
Paying the price for limited rest, one of the Estonian team members now falls ill.
And as the night progressed, all these issues started to climb to the surface. We had trust Timo to navigate in this stage. At some point at night, we discovered that he's not feeling well. He is falling behind. We need to keep moving fast to catch the Swedish team. We were getting emotional because we have been leading the World Championships and we're so close to the finish line, and now everything is falling apart.
Navigating the 65-kilometer trek during the night proves extremely difficult for all the teams.
And our navigator, Oscar, he just, I don't know if I'm going to get this. It's so tricky. I haven't seen anything like that at all.
He was so exhausted and sleep deprived that the body forces into a protective or safe mode. You cannot force body to go over the limit.
At this late stage of the race, it's all about managing pain and making good decisions under extreme fatigue.
You need to know how to suffer. If you don't like suffering, don't come here, because you're going to suffer since the beginning and to the end.
You're afraid of pain. You know it's gonna hurt. We're trying to outsmart each other with new solutions. We're pushing the sport. It's hard work. We're like any other professional athlete.
Having passed the Estonians during the night, the Swedes are delighted at their recovery and arrive in Transition 5 ready for an 11-kilometer kayak paddle.
At that transition to the last kayak, it was so short kayak section. It's mixed feelings because it's so close, but still so long go. It's just up to you. Should we take the chance to go for it, or should we hold back and save? And the whole team just, okay, now let's do the final push and then hopefully be the first team.
The Estonians limp into transition with a team member now in real trouble with early signs of hypothermia and complete exhaustion.
And so finally we got to the town, we got to the transition, we put Timo into the plastic or anything that we could find that warm him up, put him in clean and dry clothes. He couldn't eat anything.
They're now faced with a critical decision to either salvage their race or focus on the welfare of a team member.
So, okay, we will give him 1 hour rest and then we will have at least 30-minute buffer to try to do the kayak and the last small trekking. Energy went down and he went like in a dark place. We tried to talk to him and motivate him to walk there. Maybe the sleep deprivation for fourth night, and we only had slept 3 hours. So maybe now the body starts to react and it doesn't accept food like normal. When you have physical stress and then you have stomach problems, then it can get bad.
With the Estonian team in a world of pain, the rejuvenated Swedes arrive in T6, just 6 hours from the finish.
Last transition and left our kayak bag. Then we knew that no other team had started to kayak. So we knew that we had at least 1.5 hours of lead. Quite tough. No sleep and quite high speed. So now we just take a moment to chill down before we're going to pace up again to go to the finish line. But yeah, still worth it.
Following a 1-hour power nap, the brave Estonians decide to soldier on. They've come too far to give up now.
He was still not himself. He was still in a very fragile state. The next stage was a kayak, about 2 hours. And in kayak, it's possible to that only 3 persons work and 1 can still rest. We were happy that we're still racing. We are still in number 2. Okay, maybe the first position is gone, and that is a painful moment.
Over 90 hours into the unrelenting race, and all the teams are struggling.
And we were fighting to that mental fight between one team and the other one. I was almost crying because of so much pain on my body, and I can feel the pain on my teammate, how everybody was feeling that, and nobody wanted to stop.
It was warm weather. Now Timo was already feeling better. He could digest some cookies and Coca-Cola. We had the final 30-something kilometers to walk.
Finishing adventure race, you always have to be happy because there are so many variables, including your teammates who can do something wrong, so it doesn't depend always on you. But of course we have to be happy. We are so close to the finish.
Despite all the pain and sacrifice, for the first time in the race, Swedish Armed Forces finally realize the race is theirs for the taking.
So then we decided we're going to enjoy this last section and just take in that we are going to be the world champions. That was, I can't describe that feeling actually.
It was like a death march, like everybody is feeling very painful and it's hot. You see the destination on the other side of the bay and it seems so far away.
So close. Finally. I'm just happy to finish the race. When you stay at the start line of an adventure race, it's actually the journey that's mattered, and to be able to do it in the first place in the World Championship, that's just amazing. So yeah, I'm really happy.
Yeah, super emotional. I'm training, think about this every day for almost 20 years, and today it's happening. Enjoy it. Thanks.
Through a combination of disciplined teamwork, clever tactics, and sheer will, the Swedes go on to secure a well-deserved victory, securing the world title in a time of 98 hours.
You just get so relieved. Now it's over. You can see the happiness in the eyes of the other guys. We've been racing for so many years. Feel even more when it's a team. It's not just you, it's the team who have done all this work together, suffer so much, and for all the hard hours of training, racing, not sleeping, pain in the feet. Yeah, it's just amazing.
After leading for most of the race, the distraught Estonians struggle to come to terms with their late capitulation.
I don't like the end of this race, I'm honest.
Really?
I like the course, but I don't like the death march here in the city.
Well, I loved the race, but yeah, the last leg kind of took the emotions somewhere away, so have to deal with the emotions first. But yeah, the race was very difficult, very different mishappenings. Survived, and we still make it hopefully second. We still have to go, have to make them go, because we've never been in the first three, so that's gonna be exceptional.
Finally, yeah, we're in the Coruña, beautiful city, nice buildings and the yachts there. Very spectacular areas are coastal areas. We run towards the finish line and say, okay, it's painful, but let's just sprint for the fun of it. It's overwhelming. You have completed this big race. You have achieved something that maybe 10 years ago you thought it's impossible.
Nair, the second Swedish team, finish an hour behind Estonian ace to take a respectable third.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to stop this watch and actually see how far it is. It feels longer for sure. It's a relief. It's always a relief. I'm dreaming about crossing the finish lines even way long before the race starts, because I know the races are so tough and they're so hard and so painful. I enjoy like having the thought of when I finish, I can just sit down and do whatever I want.
Despite taking on one of the toughest races on the planet, the 610-kilometer epic race across northwest of Spain proves to be a memorable occasion for all the teams. More than just a race, for many of the teams, it was a life-changing experience.
This race was quite brutal, but World Championships, it should be brutal. Just 7 sections in the race, but it was so long sections, and that's what makes this race special.
Of course, this is a tough race, so of course we fight until the end. So for us, we can say was one of the toughest races we did, because the level we put on it to be in front was everything we have, everything.
To be an adventure racer, of course, you need physical skills. The physical is the easy part. The thing that is really hard in adventure is you have to plan for the unknown. Whatever happens, you need to keep on going.
The diversity of skills are fun, because sometimes you're climbing, sometimes you're canoeing, and sometimes you're doing something you've never done before.
In an adventure race, you have to be very consistent. You have to help each other. You have to trust your teammates, and you have to be trustworthy yourself.
I don't think that single person could finish this race. The team, it works like a little family. You just like support each other and help.
Hardness of racing and be able to do it with your own body, together with friends. That is what this is about, to explore the beauty of nature.
You know how to enjoy in mountains. You love the outdoor sport. This is your sport.
And we dream about exploring, doing things together, have fun, meet new people, cultures. That's what we're dreaming about. And this is a perfect way to do that. And then we can do it in a cool racing format.
The distances and the suffering is sometimes crazy. Even we ourselves think that this is ridiculous.
Yeah, a lot of people, they will say I'm crazy, but I'm telling them they are crazy because I'm doing what I want to do.
I think you have to be a bit crazy to do these races. When you look back, you don't think you're able to do it, but the body is actually quite amazing.
I think can't live what you live in the adventure racing anywhere else. Yeah, this was very special.
So I think I need another night. Drink a lot of water, nice food, take care of my feet a little bit, and I think we can be ready for another one.